Hey guys, it's Bry. I'm going to be telling you what I learned playing Kingdom Hearts 2 on critical mode. I found it to be shockingly fair, and I'm going to be using a few thunder puns today, and I'm going to hope that we're all okay with that. Now, the first thing you might be asking is why does Kingdom Hearts need difficulty? And if you haven't played the games in a while or at all, or you've only played them on easy and standard, then you might believe that it revolves around mashing X and the occasional triangle. That is true. On those easier difficulties, it is absolutely true. That is exactly what the game is. And what I find is that when the difficulty curve tends to be that non existent, mashing X is life. Most people don't really have a problem with this. I certainly didn't. I was here for the flashiness. I was not here necessarily for the cool gameplay that I didn't even know was under the hood. And if you wanted a harder difficulty, then you had Proud Mode. Proud Mode, which just ups standard enemy health and damage modifiers. That's not very fun. Who wants that? And on top of all of that, playing on these easier difficulties, there's a lot of systems and mechanics that will go unutilized. And you can see here something like Wisdom Form Sora is an afterthought in most people's brains. I would be willing to bet you a lot of people who have never experienced Kingdom Hearts on critical mode would think meme for reference. When you're playing on easy and standard in Kingdom Hearts 2, you are primarily hitting X and waiting for that triangle to pop up so you can get the cool flashy reaction command. I want to specify there is nothing wrong with reaction commands. I'm a big fan of them. I think that they are cool and flashy in the right way. I don't find them to be the sort of QuickTime nuance craziness that something like Ninja Blade had back in the day, which I don't think anybody ever played. But that's most of the game. Drive forms end up getting left off, and don't even get me started on synthesis, because who cares? And what is going to make critical different from Proud? So Proud was given to us as the hardest difficulty in the original release way back in 2006. Then Japan got Final Mix Plus, which added critical mode. We didn't know about that. Now we fast forward again to 2013 or 14, whenever the 2.5 collection came out with the Final Mix Plus add-on, and we got critical mode. What changes here is enemies deal double damage, and you'll deal 25% more damage, so they are still dealing more damage than you. There is a selection of new abilities that you didn't have previously, and you can't get in other modes. The key ones, I think, would be stuff like Reaction Boost, Finishing Plus, and XP Zero. You also begin the game with an additional 50 ability points. Ability points, if you've never seen the system, or you've looked at it once playing the game and you went, that's neat, and moved on, like I did, you would probably not even be aware why 50 AP matters. You also get 3 per level instead of 2. You gain experience at a reduced rate, and you have a reduced amount of HP. And while all this might sound overwhelmingly hard, I really want to focus on what we've got right here, which is, of course, the Reaction Boost, Finishing Plus, Draw, Lucky Lucky, MP Hystera, and XP Zero. These all change the fundamental way the game is played, especially at those early moments. What does all that mean exactly, though? So there are new ways to build Sora by using these new abilities. Something such as Experience Zero means you don't gain experience from fights. You kill something and you move on. That is an entirely different style of gameplay. There are people who are doing level 1 critical runs and succeeding shockingly well. Couldn't be me. I have children. There are also different abilities. Let's take Lucky Lucky. That increases the drop rate of items, and including synthesis items. You've never looked at synthesis. You've never thought twice about synthesis. But now you're getting a lot of synthesis items. The game is trying to tell you something, isn't it? So you go and you learn how to synthesize, and you realize, hey, I can get really cool stuff from here. I can get AP boosts and defense boosts. I like that. And you might even think about building Ultima Weapon. Don't do that, but you might think about it. Dealing less damage also means you have to use every tool at your disposal, meaning you can't ignore things like magic or things like summons. And you even have to actually learn boss fights, and you have to learn when you can go in for damage, because if you don't and you just run in blindly mashing X, you will die. It is without question. Let's take magic, for example. I never touched magic in all my playthroughs of Kingdom Hearts, all the games. Literally never touched them. I thought they were a novelty. It was cute. It was cool. But every enemy actually has weaknesses and resistances that can and should be exploited through magic. Stuff like Blizzard and Thunder, for example, are good against specific kinds of enemies or bosses. There's also Reflect, specifically in Kingdom Hearts 2, which is great, make no mistake, but I believe is mostly balanced still. Little bit broken, but mostly balanced. You can't spam it, is what I'm saying. And I found that this changed my playthrough tremendously, because now all of a sudden I was actually changing out my shortcut menu to accommodate the different spells that I would need for each fight so that I'd be able to min-max what I was actually doing. And that is just such a cool experience. It's not something that I ever even thought of doing. I don't think I even ever modified the shortcut menu, except maybe I threw a potion on there. And equipment matters too. When I was 11, I always slapped on the most recent Keyblade I got because I thought, hey, this is the most powerful one, right? And that's just not correct. Each Keyblade does different things. Yes, they have different strength values, but that does not really matter too much because you're already doing damage underneath the 100% threshold, right? So does it matter too much? Probably not. But what does matter is learning, hey, there's an enemy that's weak against Thunder, so I can use Thunder plus the Keyblade from Tron World, which allows me to do more Thunder damage, and now all of a sudden I'm exploiting weaknesses and I'm turning my Keyblade into a miniature nuke, which is really cool. Again, not really something that I ever thought about, but when you think about it, it's so intuitive and it is so clear and basic in terms of what it tells the player to do. It is 1 + 1 = 2. It is quite literally Thunder plus Thunder Keyblade equals good. And some people might hear that and think, yeah, well, it's new to me, okay? I do feel like accessories could feel more useful. I really only ever use the defense boost accessories and the AP boost accessories, but some more veterans maybe found some use for some of those more niche resistances that I just didn't find use for. Then you've got drive forms. I love the drive form system. I loved it when I was younger even, but I only ever really used Valor and maybe sometimes Master because I didn't need to. They didn't feel necessary, right? They were just this cool extra thing. So what I learned here is that all of the drive forms are good, really, really good, even Wisdom form. I used to think Wisdom was useless because all it does is work with spells. As we've learned, spells are really strong, and you can even combo spells in Wisdom form and just rain down Thunder. It's very fun. I also do think that while Valor and Wisdom forms get power crept by Master form and Final form, and especially Limit, they still get you where you need to be. They teach you basic things such as how do you chain your magic together, how do you change your aerial combos together, and it is teaching you more things about the game so that when you do get Master and Final form and Limit form, you know how to use them better. These things also have these things called growth abilities. I think growth abilities are such a smart, useful idea to getting people to use all of the drive forms, because naturally, if you got Master or Final form, why would you ever go back and use the other ones? Well, because of growth abilities. Growth abilities are this mechanic that gives you an ability by leveling up the drive form. And there's a signature one for each one. And what these do is they give you stuff like a higher jump, an extra jump, a glide even, a dodge roll. And while some of these are really useful for exploration, they're also very useful in combat. There are certain bosses that I was able to get through in the story playthrough on critical because I was able to do my double jump and get around and glide. It's actually very, very helpful. And I think that it's so cool to actually incentivize you using the forms and learning the forms, leveling them, getting to know them, rather than just ignoring them like I did, like I was a stupid kid. However, there is also anti-form that we have to talk about. Anti-form is your primary deterrent from using drive. There is a counter, and I don't read a lot, so I didn't read exactly how the counter is set or what you can do to manipulate it. I know there are people who do those things. But when you hit that counter threshold, when you use drive, you will convert into anti-form. This is meant to prevent you from using drive as the answer for every single fight, because it is strong and it is good, but there has to be some kind of detraction. So anti-form is not even actually that bad. It has some really good combos. It does really good damage. It's very fast. But there are a lot of problems as well. It can't heal. Your party members are gone. You can't summon. And if you revert out of drive, your drive form is drained. So it's this really scary lottery machine. And what I found was that I was so terrified of trying to crack limit form in something important like, say, the Roxas fight, and then cracking anti-form, and now all of a sudden my fight is ruined. And that also tells me, like, oh, okay, if I really care, I better go crack this, refill my drive form, and then restart the fight. which is just an extra little thing to be aware of. You can't use drive willy-nilly. Then you've got the data fights. Once you've finished the main game, you can start doing the data fights. Zooey Mama, these are hard. They are also very memorable. They're hard, but they are very memorable. And what they want you to do is they want you to learn and continue learning what you did in the game when you learned not to just spam X. They want to see, did you actually learn something here? Are you using the tools you were given? Are you watching and learning from the fights? And are you going to actually do it? And I found that this could add numerous hours to your playthrough. I played probably 2 of these before I had to say I just needed to move on. As cool as they are, especially because some of these fights you couldn't do in Kingdom Hearts 2 because some of these characters were only in Chain of Memories, I thought it was a really great addition, and I think it's going to be something that keeps people coming back. It is something that keeps people coming back. It is something that keeps people coming back to the game even after all this time, which is really lovely. So in conclusion, I find that I have such a deep appreciation for Kingdom Hearts' battle system now, to the point that I'm actually looking forward to trying Kingdom Hearts 3 on Critical. I don't like Kingdom Hearts 3. I find it to be vastly inferior to Kingdom Hearts 2 in many, many ways, but Critical might change my mind. If you're on the fence, I really highly encourage you to try this. It's going to change the way you look at the game. You don't have to do the data fights. There's really only 1 or 2 fights that I think you'll even get hung up on. Give it a shot. I think you'll surprise yourself. And if you're ever not sure, people have got these fights down to a science by now. So when you get stuck and you're struggling, the internet's your friend. Thanks for listening. Have a lovely day.